Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Freedom Stories. And today we've got Zach Riggs with us. And Zach has a wonderful story of building up a real estate business, growing a large investment business, and has also been able to experience some of the financial freedom and the time freedom that we're always after here, and we want to be able to live the life that we want to live. So a little bit about Zach. He this past year has had a real estate business with a partner that's done about 8 to 9 million in volume, and Zach owns about 80 homes. And Zach is the guy. He has guythatbuyshomes.com is his website, and he's used that to really gain a ton of traction in his hometown of Springfield, Missouri, for investor clients, and really utilizing the network of agents there to help bring in business. So welcome, Zach. We're so glad to have you. Why don't you just give us a little bit more information about you?
Awesome. Thanks for having me. My name is Zach Riggs. I live in Springfield, Missouri. I've lived here for a very long time. And I started selling real estate in 2006 at sort of the peak of the market. I was 24. And so, I've got 3 kids. I'm married and 3 boys. And that's kind of my story to this point. The highlights anyway.
So let's talk a little bit about the early days then. What was it about real estate that attracted you? How did you get into the industry, and kind of how did you get your start?
I actually got licensed. It was pretty challenging for me. I'm not super book smart, and I don't retain information very well. So I had to go through the schooling a couple times, take the test more than a couple times, but I did end up getting my license. And I was actually sort of directed into this industry from my best friend at the time. His dad was in commercial real estate, and he had a big influence on me getting into real estate because he always told me that I had potential, and that he thought that this would be a great direction for me, because at the time I barely graduated high school and I didn't go to college. And so I was just working random jobs pretty much all the time. I would quit a job, start a new one, never really went anywhere. So I got licensed, and I actually thought that real estate was like a salary type position. So I thought that I'd get licensed, I'd go get a job, make $30,000 a year salary. And so once I got licensed, I realized that wasn't the case. And so I actually started with a discount brokerage called Assist-to-Sell in 2006, because I was young and I thought, well, if I'm the cheap guy and I do a really great job, surely I'll sell some houses here, And so I started that route. And then obviously the market started changing quickly, going down. And so anyway, I worked at Assist-to-Sell for 5 years, and then I moved into traditional real estate.
Okay, so Assist-to-Sell was kind of the start. The market went down, and then what did you decide needed to change in your business, or what decisions did you make to take the next step?
Yeah, so I was 5 years in, and in the discount brokerage model, you do a lot of volume, but you get paid less on every transaction, which early on worked really well for me because I was used to making little to no money. I was willing to work very hard. And so I built that up to where I was making around 50,000 a year, but I was working very hard for that 50,000. And so I just got to a point where it was so constant, just the emails, the text messages, working nights and weekends. I started to shift my mindset a little bit to, okay, how can maybe I do less transactions, but get paid more for each transaction. And so I made the move into traditional real estate thinking, oh, well, my business might take a hit because I'm not the cheap guy anymore. But at least I'll make more money per transaction, less phone calls, less clients. Because I had small kids. My wife was in college. Like, it was just really stressful to work nonstop for 5 years. And I knew I couldn't keep that up. And I also at that time started thinking about investing in real estate, but I didn't. So I made the move into traditional real estate, just thinking I can make more money. Hopefully that was my hope. So.
Well, and I think what's important for people to understand is it really is a value conversation. We're often taught that, if you compete on price, it's just a race to the bottom. And when you really bring a mindset of, I can add more value to you because of my knowledge, my expertise, all the skills that I bring to it, then I'm worth that. And it's the same example as a doctor or a lawyer. Are you going to pick a lawyer because they're the cheapest, or are you going to pick a lawyer because they bring great value for what they charge? Sure. And there's a lot of people in the industry that just feel like, oh, the only way anybody's going to ever choose me is because I'm the cheapest. And,
for sure.
and there is an element of people that will, but when you have great relationships with them, they're going to want to choose you for your expertise, and you can charge more for that. I mean, a lawyer who charges double is going to be able to probably deliver double. Now, are there lawyers out there that charge more than they're worth? Probably. And yet at the same time, it's no different than an agent. And I think that's the conversation of, when we just accept, what the buyer broker, the co-op commission is, then that's somebody else telling us what our worth is. So I'm glad that you discovered that, because that does lead to a lot of burnout. You're spinning your wheels. You're not making a lot of money. And now you're probably not doing a lot of different things now that you're at a traditional brokerage, and yet you're making more because it's a different model. You're still bringing the same amount of value. You're just now mentally understanding, I'm worth that, and I should be able to charge that. And when you do a great job, people are willing to pay that.
Yeah, you're 100% right. For 5 years, though, you think that the reason people are doing business with you primarily is because you're the cheapest, and there are some people that, like you said, that is the reason. But, you 5 years of delivering good service and doing what you're supposed to do and doing your job well. People were just willing to pay more, I realized, and so that was more of a mental block for me, like you touched on there. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now you're at a traditional brokerage. You're able to make more money per transaction. How did your business and your income change as a result of that?
Well, I think in the first 5 years, like I said, the peak was around 50 to 60,000. And then I moved into traditional real estate, and within a couple of years of doing that, it was up to like about 100 pretty fast. But I was doing less. I was doing it in less time. So I had more freedom, more nights and weekends, less busy work, So I thought, okay, this is good. I like where this is heading. And so at that point I moved, I wanted to make a move to a bigger company to grow my real estate business. But I wanted more training. I wanted to, learn how to be more of a business owner versus just out there doing it all myself. And so I made a move over to Keller Williams, which was about 8 years ago or so. I jumped right in. I mean, I dug right into all the training and the classes, and ended up growing a little team. And production ended up going over that next 5 years, around 20 million in production. Which here in where we're at, our average sales price at that time was about 130 to 140. So it's, between 100 and 150 sales a year.
Yeah. How many people did you have on your team at that time?
It would fluctuate, but I've always had an assistant. And then I would have, I think at the most I had me and two sales reps, two buyer specialists that would sort of assist me. But most of that is just the two of us,
Yeah.
And our administrative help. So,
okay. So then let's talk a little bit how you got started into the investor piece. What was the either the stirring inside of you, or maybe the opportunity that you saw? How did that start? And then we'll talk about how it grew.
Okay, sure. So as I started to leverage with the team idea, right? Hiring an assistant, hiring a buyer specialist, I could start to see how, initially I always thought, well, if I hire somebody, I'm going to make less money.
Yep.
Because I have to pay them. And so I had to kind of wrap my mind around, oh, okay, this is leverage. When you pay good people to do these things, I can actually be more productive in the things that I'm good at. But it was really hard for me to just sort of change my whole mindset, because that's not how I grew up. It's not how I've been my whole life. So, but once I started to get a taste of, okay, I'm figuring out how to make more money, deliver just as good of service, but do it with other people helping me, I started to go, okay, what's next? My income was growing substantially to where I had a lot of disposable income. With that, a lot of taxes. And so that sort of led me into like the investment side of it. I also knew that I wasn't going to sell real estate as an agent for 20 years. Like I just had no desire to do that. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll buy a house, because during the recession, my little niche was like, I would find investors and I would sell them little rental houses and flip houses. And so I was already sort of in that a lot. I didn't really know what a good deal was or wasn't necessarily, but it was the niche I was in. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll just buy a house, flip it, see what happens. And so I did that with one. And I partnered with a guy, cause I had the money, but I was scared to do it. And so I thought, well, if I can get this guy that knows construction, he can help me. And so we did it. It went totally fine. We made like 30 grand a piece, which at that time was a huge chunk, because I was generally making like 3,000 per closing on my sales business. So to make 10 times that for virtually no work, it was huge. And so that's what sort of started the whole, like, keeping the sales business rolling, but start working on investing as well.
Yep. Now, how did you start to grow that? I'm curious how intentional it was versus how organic it was. Because to go to guythatbuyshomes.com, I mean, that's an intentional marketing message. And I know we'll talk a little bit about how you utilized a Facebook group to help that grow, but how much of it is like kind of the next deal turned to the next deal to the next deal versus like, okay, here's my new marketing plan. I'm going to market this investor business, and here's how I'm going to do it. How did that happen for you?
I would say it was two phases. So I bought my first house around 8 years ago or so. And then there was a period of 2 or 3 years where I would utilize my Facebook group to just remind people of what I do. And then that started to work, but then the market started improving at the same time, which meant it was getting harder for me to find deals, because, there's just more investors. There's people with less, they have less, problems, because the economy is doing well, right? So they don't need to unload these properties. So it was like my marketing was working, but the economy was improving. So I was still sort of staying flatlined. And so, but about 3 years ago, I decided that I really, really wanted to get intentional through this good market, because I knew it was going to get harder to find deals, and I still wanted to find deals. But I didn't want to have to overpay for them, like to what I was used to paying. Right. And so I started Guy That Buys Homes, just to kind of put a name on it and something that people could remember, especially the agents. And I started doing that about 3 years ago.
And now this Facebook group that you talked about, this was a group that you had started quite a while ago just for local agents in the area. And then that eventually kind of turned into a little bit of a lead gen lever for you for, hey, agents, if you know of an investment property, let me know. Is that right?
100%. Yeah. When I started it, it was just Facebook groups were just kind of a thing starting. And I thought, oh, well, I'll start one for all the real estate agents, and we can network and whatever, and just chit chat, And so I did. And right away there was, probably 40% of the agents in there. And then, our local MLS board, after a couple of years, didn't really like that. So they started their own. And so now there's two, but a majority of the agents are in mine, because obviously it's the original. And, but yeah, about 7 years ago, I started the investment idea, and I thought, well, how can I target these agents? And obviously one of the ways is the group. I can control the message, and I can basically just remind them as often as I want to call me first when they find a crappy house, duplex, or apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, and it's genius in the sense of now your agent network is your lead generation, where it's going to help them when you've just multiplied yourself, because now you've got hundreds of agents that are reaching out to you versus you having to go call 100 agents. Hey, do you have any deals? Hey, do you have any deals? And so it's genius in the rear view mirror here of how that happened for you, because now you've got a ton of people out there bringing you deals, and you've built this up over time, and you've trained them in a way, not intentionally, but unintentionally trained them in a way of, hey, I've got a good deal, I'm going to call you, versus,
For sure.
some other investor. So it really helped to, as we
Well,
look at that sales funnel, to get the agents on board to pointing to you.
right. And you sell real estate,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So you know that I would assume that you would rather work with somebody that you know and like, that you know
Mm-hmm.
will close, that will make it easier on you and look like a superhero to your client.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, you're going to make all the commission because I'm not
Right.
going to take any. So it becomes this no-brainer as long as you can remind them and make them remember you. There would be no reason why they wouldn't call me first. And I didn't really plan it that way. The group, it just worked out that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the other nice thing about it is that there are a few competitors here that buy and sell and do what I do, and may even do more than me. But the nice thing is there's no marketing dollars that go into it, and it's not something that people can just replicate and take market share from you. So
Right.
for anybody out there, if you're doing mailers or you're doing Google ad clicks or whatever, like, your competitor could just go in and do the same mailer and send it to the same people, and or pay more for the clicks or whatever. With this, it's a relationship. It's a familiarity with me and them, and they know me because I live here and I sell real estate here and we've worked together. It's just hard for somebody to take that away from you quickly.
Right.
And that's the other thing I really like about it. Yeah.
So on the investment side, then talk to me a little bit about what you look for in a deal. So you've got a mix of single family, multi-unit, and all that. What are you keying in on? What am I going to flip, or what am I going to buy and hold?
For me, it's always like the very beginning is value add first. Obviously, because I want to make some money. And so that's the first thing. I just look for distress. I guess I look at it step one as, is this an opportunity to make money? And then I evaluate, is this something I should wholesale? Is this something I should, renovate and flip? Or is it something I should just remodel and keep as a rental? And how I determine that is there's a lot of different ways. For example, I don't really like having houses that are like, let's say 100 years old. I don't like owning those as rentals, but people here love buying them. So if I found one, I might, renovate it and flip it, right? Put it on the market myself and sell it that route. I don't really love doing those because it's not my strength. Like, I'm not a great designer, and I'm not up on all the trends. So that's not my first priority, but I'll do it. I always sort of look at it like, is this easy for me to manage? Ease of management and ownership. And so if it does, I'll just hold it. I'll renovate. I'll buy it. I'll hold it. After I renovate it, I'll rent it out, and then I'll refinance it, pull my money out, which is the BRRRR strategy. I'm sure you've heard of that. And put it in my portfolio and let it do its work. And I'll collect, $300 to $400 cash flow and just hang on to it.
And then how are you finding most of your renters? Is it just, posting on Craigslist, kind of the normal route, or do you have a network of people that know to reach out to you if you've got a rental coming up, or how does that happen?
Yeah, I do get a lot of referrals from agents because they know it's what I do. So I always take the time to get the info and pass it to my property manager because I want them to see that I'm I'm following through with what they're needing me to help with, because again, it circles back around to they're seeing me as the resource, and I'm going to help their client when they need a rental. And then they'll also call me when they have a property.
Mm-hmm.
But we basically put them on Zillow and Trulia hot pads.
Mm-hmm.
In doing that, we get, we get more than enough applicants, and I just cherry pick the best one.
And then you've got a property manager that handles all of that.
I do now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I started, I self-managed until about, around 40 units or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of decided that I was spending too much time managing the properties, and it's not a high paying, thing to be spending your time doing. And so
Mm-hmm.
I found a great property manager, and, it's worked out well. It's allowed me to grow significantly because I don't have to spend so much time. I could just do other things. And so, yeah, I've really, really enjoyed having a manager after doing it on my own for 4 years or 5 years. So,
yeah, I was going to say that would be an awful lot of work with 40 properties to have to manage all those yourself. So I'm glad you found somebody that fits, because that's a lot to handle.
Yeah, it was, but it wasn't too bad. I had them, they're good areas. A lot of them are single families, so they generally stay for, 2 years or more. So that helps. But yeah, it was just time. It was time to just move on and grow the size of the portfolio. And I knew I couldn't do it by being a one-man show. So.
Mm-hmm. So now, like we mentioned early on, you're sitting at about 80 houses. So how many per year are you deciding to buy and hold here over the last couple of years, and kind of thinking about moving forward? What's your pace here of what you're going to continue to hold?
Well, it changes with the tax code. So the last 4 years, tax code has given some incentive for me to not hold and sell off a lot, because of bonus depreciation. So last year I only kept 2, but I bought probably 70 units or so and sold them off, one way or another, flipped them or wholesaled them. I bought an apartment complex with 33 units that I bought it, and then I just sold it a month later. So, if the tax code changes this, the next year or so, and there's less incentive for the bonus depreciation, which there probably will be, I will go back into holding more, because I don't want to pay high capital gains on everything. So I'll probably hold more.
Now, talking about the tax code, how have you learned about that? Was it just you've worked with an accountant, you've cycled through a couple of accountants? Because that's something that, the person investing their first unit, they're not going to know or necessarily care about. But walk through that a little bit, because I think it's going from, we talk about going from entrepreneurial to purposeful, right? And so now you having to have an understanding of the tax code for holding 80 units. How did that grow for you?
Well, I don't really know all of it. I do have a great accountant, but he doesn't know it all either. So I get most of my information from podcasts. I mean, just like what we're doing. I mean, I listen to these all day, every day. Like, I don't really listen to the radio. So, but I just pick up on things, and I'm like, well, what's that about? I've never heard that. So I'll research it a little bit, and then I'll call my accountant and say, hey, what's this about? Is this something I could take advantage of, or do I need to change the structure of this? Because I heard, and then he'll listen to the podcast too sometimes. So I just collect information that other people give me, and then I see if I can apply it to what I'm doing. So I just basically copy people that are doing different things, try to apply it to my own business.
Yeah. And I love your story, because you started in residential, you built up that business, and then you found a way to kind of leverage it out. And then you've built up your business on the investment side, and you found a property manager to help leverage that out. And even too, having a great accountant is great leverage. So you're kind of accumulating these pieces over time. You're turning them from entrepreneurial to purposeful. You're moving on to the next thing. You're moving on to the next thing. So let's talk for a little bit then about the freedom that that's provided you both in time, because you're working generally about 15 hours per week, and then also just the freedom to be able to spend time with your family. You've talked about doing a lot of travel, so being able to build something up, have great leverage of people that can work on that for you has given you that freedom. So share how that's impacted your life.
Yeah. I mean, it's been interesting because I've always wanted that ability I love working. I enjoy what I do, and I'm a hard worker, so by nature. So working 15 hours a week it's actually not as easy as it sounds. I'm getting ready to turn 39, and I really enjoy what I do. But so what I'm saying is it's just interesting. I love the fact that I have the freedom, but I'm also, it opens myself up for other challenges and different directions that I want to go, whether it be traveling or things like I want to take my kids to school every day, and I want to pick them up every day. And I want to be open to going to soccer anytime I want. I don't want to miss a single thing. So it's stuff like that. It's a huge, huge benefit. Plus the peace of mind of just of not worrying all the time about answering that phone because I have to, because I need to do this and I need to make the money. So it's been really huge for me. We've always traveled a lot. It's always been a priority to me and my wife and our family. And so, it is nice when you can go and actually unplug and not worry about anything versus go on a vacation and work for, 60% of the time or be thinking about it most of the time.
Right.
So, it's awesome. And I can tell you that most of the ability to be able to do that is just from the cash flow from my rentals. Like the rentals is like the foundation, because it's a month in, month out. First of every month I get deposits and I make money, which is awesome. And then, the wholesaling is just a little bit more on top without me spending a lot of time. Flipping houses, same thing. Selling the real estate, same thing. So for me, it's all about leveraging it out, finding good people, and not feeling like you have to inject yourself into every aspect of your business, because some people do that. They think that, they're the most important part of it. When in reality, it's like you could probably get people to help you that do a better job and buy yourself a little bit of time off and freedom. So, yeah.
And I think there's a lot of wisdom there that you're saying, but you may not understand how important it is, because there's so many times where people feel like they have to have their hand in every pot because they're like, I'm so important, I have to be controlling every decision, or maybe it's I have a hard time letting go of stuff, and so I need to be in every decision. And we talk a lot of times on our real estate team, the best agent on our team is the agent that knows what lane they're good at and what lane they're not good at. And we want the person that wants to be in their lane and loves not being in the other lanes, because it's a real partnership, right? We can add value on the team level by providing the systems, the training, the tools, the staff and all that. And the agent wants to just go out and sell and have great relationships with people. And they don't care what their business card's like, or they don't care about, what's the drip campaign that we're putting on leads. So it's a really good element of knowing what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And you've exemplified that because you have financial freedom, you have time freedom, because you're willing to let go of things. There's, you very easily could probably say, well, it's my money, it's my businesses, I need to be in it for 40 to 50 hours a week so I understand it, so we don't miss a beat. And here you are saying, I'm working 15 hours a week and I'm good, because you're okay with leverage, letting them do their job and you do your job.
I'll just say one thing on that is my nature is to sort of worry about what could happen. Like that's just who I am. And so real estate investing, and even before that, getting into, being self-employed, has just been so stressful as far as like my natural personality. But and then getting into investing was even more stressful, because now I'm multiplying the amount of things that can go wrong. that I can't really control. And I just have to learn to chill out and let it all take place. And so that was really hard. But, as I've kind of, leveled up, and you get comfortable, and then you move to the next level and you get comfortable, and then you go to 20 rentals and you get comfortable. And then you just realize, okay, I can keep going this direction, whether it be amount of units or agents on your team or whatever it is. You get comfortable, and then you can sort of go to that next level. So you just have to push through. You just have to push through it.
So what does a normal day or a normal week look like for you? Spending 15 hours a week working, you're dropping your kids off, you're picking your kids up, but what does a typical day in the life of Zach look like?
Oh, that makes me laugh, because people that know me, they give me a really hard time. So basically my days are, I take my kids to school first thing, and then Monday, Wednesday, I'll just do during the week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I go to the gym, and I meet my personal trainer. We work out for about an hour and a half. I usually, after that, run into town. I'll go check on, just kind of drive by my projects and make sure that my guys are there, and just make sure nobody broke in or whatever. Check on properties in progress. After that, I go to Pita Pit for lunch every day. Anybody that knows me knows that's what I do. So I go there, and then after that, I just sort of, I call it piddling around. I just kind of go, well, what do I need to run any errands? Do I want to go, fishing today? Or, I just sort of, my days are usually done around 12. And then the rest of the day is just, I go pick my kids up at around 2:45. So that takes about an hour for car line. So, and then I drop them off, and then I come home about 5 o'clock and 4 o'clock, hang out with them, and do it all over again.
And then during your drive time, you're listening to podcasts about tax laws.
Yes, I am. I am always listening to podcasts, guaranteed. If I'm in my truck, which I'm in my truck most of the day, I am always listening to podcasts. So,
yeah. There's a lot of wisdom. I just love your story, because you're a very humble guy. You've done a great job, and yet you're very purposeful in what you do, and you're not some over the top person that's bragging about, well, I've got this and this and this, and I work hard and I do this and this and this. But yeah, you've really worked a system and built a system, and passed it on, and worked on the next one and built it. And yeah, you're very intentional with your time too. And that's the thing that I think people have a hard time understanding is you're getting up and you're working out 3 times a week. You've got a personal trainer, so you're focusing on your fitness as well. So you've got these goals, you've got personal development goals, which is why you're listening to podcasts and all that. And so your life is very intentional, and yet you can still be free with your time. Like, hey, from noon to, I got to pick up the kids. If I want to go fishing, I can go fishing, or I can do something else. But yet it's still a schedule. It's still regimented time, but you have the freedom to choose how are you spending those different blocks of time.
Yeah. I would say that about 7 years ago is when it started to click that I don't need to always fill my time with something in order to make myself feel like I'm being productive. I guess I started to realize, like, there's key things that I really, really need to focus on every day, which is getting people to call me, the agents primarily, or homeowners. I need them to call me. I need to work on acquisitions. I need to get my projects done, and I need to get them sold. And that was pretty much what I work on every day. And everything else somebody else does, or I say no to it, because I just don't want to. There's just things I don't want to do. And if they don't get me to my goal, what is the point? I don't need to be busy just to say I had a crazy day today. I would rather say I didn't have a crazy day today, but I still moved forward in my really big goals,
So thinking about the future then for you, what do you have on the horizon? What do you see over the next 5 to 10 years for you in your business?
I see me continuing to do what I'm doing. And it's working, and I'm just going to keep doing it because I really, really, really enjoy it. And then I get this really big benefit on the back end of cash flow. And there's so many benefits. I love it. It's my passion. But I can definitely I'm getting a sense of like, okay, what's next? And I think for me, I want to move into this space of like maybe helping people, education, maybe YouTube channel, just to sort of start sharing things that I got going on with real estate and just connect with people and see if I can help. I can sort of help them with what they're looking to achieve, as long as it's in the space that I feel like I can add value.
Awesome. Well, so if folks want to get a hold of you, if your stories resonated, maybe there's people looking into getting investing, or they want to really take their investment to the next game, how can folks get a hold of you?
Well, I'm just on Facebook, Zach Riggs. My website's guythatbuyshomes.com. It's also my Facebook page for my business. I'm not really on Instagram or anywhere else. But I will have a YouTube channel soon, but again, just getting that geared up. So I don't know, they can find me on Facebook and connect. I do post there, and they can see kind of the projects I buy and the funny things that happen, and then just sort of go from there.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's a wonderful story of how you've built things up, and you're gaining a lot of financial and time freedom from it. So I appreciate you sharing with others. It means a lot.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Mike.
Great. All right. Thank you so much.